All right, it is a Woozy Friday, and quite appropriate. I have been a little under the weather for like a week and a half now. It is crazy. Dayquil has become my best friend, and craziness. So anyway, it is February 16th. Here we go. We're in verse 4 of Woozy, chapter 2. Yeah, chapter 3 is next. So just four verses in chapter 2. Marcus Wu asked, "When must an enemy be attacked?" Wu Qi replied, "In warfare, you must assess the strengths and weaknesses of the enemy and then attack their vulnerable points. You should attack in the following situations: when the enemy has just arrived after a long journey and they have not assumed the proper formations, when the enemy has finished a meal and their guard is down, when they are on the run, when they are tired, when they do not have an advantageous position, when the weather is not in their favor, when they are in disarray, when they have just traveled a long way and have had no time to rest, when they are in the middle of a crossing river, when they are in a mountain pass or narrow road, when they are forming up, when their commanders have become separated from the rank and file, and when they are afraid. In the above situations, you should charge the enemy with your best troops, divide your men, and pursue the fleeing enemy. A swift attack is absolutely necessary. So, attacking the vulnerable points, very interesting. And then we're going on to chapter 3 next, Army Discipline. All right, let's go over to The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. February 16th. Don't make things harder than they need to be. If someone asks you how to write your name, would you bark out each letter? And if they get angry, would you then return the anger? Wouldn't you rather gently spell out each letter for them? So then, remember in life that your duties are the sum of individual acts. Pay attention to these. Pay attention to each of these as you do your duty. Just methodically complete your task. Marcus Aurelius, Meditation 6.26. Here's a common scenario. You're working with a frustrating coworker or a difficult boss. They ask you how to do something, and because you dislike the messenger, you immediately object. There's this problem to that one, or their request is obnoxious and rude. So you tell them, no, I'm not going to do that. Then they retaliate by not doing something that you had previously asked of them, and so the conflict escalates. Meanwhile, if you could step back and see it objectively, you probably see that not everything they're asking for is unreasonable. In fact, some of it is pretty easy to do, or is at least agreeable. And if you did it, it might make the rest of the task a bit more tolerable too. Pretty soon, you've done the entire thing. Life in our job is difficult enough. Let's not make it harder by getting emotional about insignificant matters or digging in for battles we don't actually care about. Let's not let emotion get in the way of Ketikon, the simple, appropriate actions on the path to virtue. Repeated daily actions, right? It's the sum of these individual acts. And I think that, like, the example that he lays out is very much like the verse that we just read in the Woozy. Like, when is it appropriate to attack? And I think by analyzing the situation, and maybe as Jocko Willing says, to kind of take a step back, even, right? To disengage. And I think that's what is happening is we so often get so caught up in these conversations in our head or the future about what we're worrying about, all of these anxieties that we have. And then we harbor onto these old feelings, right? The example of the boss that you don't like coming to ask you to do something, and then you immediately bark back, and it creates this downward spiral. Whereas if you were like Marcus Wu and right, if you listen to your advisor and you try to find these weak points of attack, which is not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to attack. We're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to assess these weak points within ourselves and within the situations that present to us so that we can proceed in the right way.